Guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. It's Friday. Delighted that you could join us. Alan Rough, Tam McManus and Mark McGee here with us as we look ahead to the weekend's Premiership matches in Scotland and, of course, the Scottish Cup final, which takes place on Sunday, the 20th of December. That's how crazy this world is. This is, of course, last season's Scottish Cup final. We will be looking at that. Obviously, I've got to ask the question. Mark, you've been in 5 Scottish Cup finals, no defeats in them all. Which one was your favourite?
Probably the last one, where Celtic, when we beat Rangers. But they're all special. I mean, it's one of the sad things about the situation, because without any shadow of a doubt, I know I'm fortunate enough to have played in other finals, but the Scottish Cup finals, are 5 of the best memories, without any shadow of a doubt, of my entire football career.
Yeah, I think that's the occasion that everybody was hoping. Fans in there, the build up to it, the little bit of nerves, all the preamble. But in the end, we're going to have one of those quiet ones, and there'll be no parade at all, Mark, which just completely and utterly takes it away from Celtic or Hearts. More likely that Hearts would have gone through a parade if they'd won it.
Yeah, but I hope that the two teams can somehow capture the importance of it, in terms of, later on in their lives, when they look back, they'll remember the circumstances, of course, but they will be able to chalk up a winner's medal if they're in the team that wins. So it is important, and it will still be important outside of the ground where the supporters will be watching from. So, I think that they've got to kind of generate that same kind of interest, if you like. It's a fantastic competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly looking forward to it, Roughie. And of course, there's big questions to be asked about team selection. We'll look at that in greater detail in a moment. Tam, did you play in a cup final? Do you have any memories of cup finals that stick in your head? I mean, it's just, I am not sticking you in here. But,
yes, yeah.
Yeah, am I right? Okay. I mean, did you even did you get into the League Cup final? I know you were part of that team that of so many great youngsters that were coming through at the time at Hibs.
Yeah, I was involved in 4 finals, Peter, and I lost them all, unfortunately. 2 for Hibs, a League Cup final against Livingston, and a Scottish Cup final against Celtic. 1 for Dunfermline, 2 for Dunfermline, one in the Challenge Cup and one in the Scottish Cup. So lost all 4, unfortunately. But great to be involved in cup finals, as Mark said there. Listen, it's a great occasion. You miss the fans being there. The Scottish Cup's a showpiece usually at the end of the season. Nice day, full house, and I just hope that both teams can go and do it justice. Obviously, it's from last season, but it's still a massive thing. I've got massive regrets that I never won a cup final. So, the Hearts players, particularly Celtic players, have won lots in their career, but some of the Hearts boys might never get another opportunity to be in a cup final. So they've got to grasp it and have no regrets and come off the park having given everything, because they all have regrets if they don't.
Yeah, Roughie, honestly, I did not set it up this way. A bit of a yin and a yang, a real winner in Mark and a real loser. A real loser in Tam. That is not the way I meant it to be, Roughie, honestly. But, I mean, Roughie, everybody knows about your League Cup win in 71, but are there other finals that, stick in your throat that you remember?
Yeah, I had the BB Summer Cup in 65, where we got to the final there and we won 2-0.
A rare clean sheet of
it. No, we got to a final. Mark's Aberdeen beat us with Hibs 3-0, which was a bit of a disappointment. But the guys are right. Cup finals, it's been in that team bus, and that bus turns the corner into where the final's been held, and it is just a fantastic atmosphere of seeing all your fans who are celebrating, and that's what the players are going to miss. It's a tremendous occasion, even getting off the bus and getting in and just walking about the park before the game starts, with usually a full crowd, sampling the atmosphere, and that's what the players will have to get round their heads to enjoy that day.
Yeah, absolutely. Am I
Peter,
right in
Peter,
thinking?
Peter, I would even take it back further than that, because it's like, Alan. You leave the hotel. There's usually a TV helicopter, flying around the hotel and all that jazz, and then you've got the police bikes and all that getting you at full speed for Seamill up to Hampden, and the bus never slows below 60 until it gets to the car park, and it's just one of the most exciting things you can ever be involved in, and that's going to be missing as well. That hype and that excitement, and it's such a shame for the players as well as obviously the scorers.
Yeah, it's a good point you make. I mean, they're going to miss out on all that thrill of it all. But over and above that, the one good thing about a Scottish Cup final, at least there's no antics. Now, I can't remember if it was Mark that mentioned this story to me or you, Roughie, but usually the players used to have a wee game of cards up at the back. And then, obviously, you were hoping that, your clothes were all intact and you didn't walk off the team bus with your trousers and everything gone. I think am I right, Roughie? Is that you that told me that story?
It wasn't a cup. It wasn't a cup game. It was a league game. Partick Thistle versus Aberdeen, and the gamblers were all up the back of the bus, and it was getting so heated. Obviously, they were running out of money, and I don't know if Mark will remember wee John Craig, Tommy Craig's brother. Yeah. He was having a bad 3-card brag, I think they were playing, and he lost his shirt. And then the time we drove into Pittodrie, no trousers on, and he had to walk into the dressing room. He had to walk into the dressing room in his underpants, which was it lightened the day.
Can you imagine that as you walk off the bus? That would be absolutely outrageous.
And then once the game gets started, once the game gets started, we took the rest of their trousers and their shirts off.
Brilliant. Anyway, good story. I knew it was you, Roughie, in the end. But what about the cup final? Gabriel Antoniazzi has a wee look at it.
After 498 days, 114 games and 102 teams, the longest Scottish Cup in living memory concludes on Sunday as challengers Hearts stand in the way of Celtic's quest for a quadruple treble. Now, it's been a terrible year for so many, but Sunday's final offers a chance for both teams and their fans, who of course won't be at Hampden, a chance to end 2020 on a high. Last May, the Jambos took the lead through Ryan Edwards early in the second half, but a brace from Odsonne Edouard secured the Hoops treble. Hearts midfielder Peter Haring claimed the players are ready to avenge last year's result, and looking at their run to the final, you wouldn't put it past them as they knocked out both Rangers and Hibernian in the previous 2 rounds. They come into the game top of the championship, having won 3 of their last 4 and are brimming with confidence thanks to their manager Robbie Neilson, according to captain Steven Naismith.
He's brought a freshness, he's changed the squad slightly, and the division we're in, we've started well, we've won a lot of games and we're playing good football, so on the whole that inevitably brings confidence. Hearts are the 4th most successful team in the competition with 8 victories overall. Neilson himself played in a 2006 Cup win and hopes to dedicate a victory today to former teammate Mariusz Zaliuskas, who lifted the trophy in 2012 on arguably the club's greatest ever day. Neilson was also full of admiration for counterpart Neil Lennon, who's been under increasing pressure lately.
Had it as well, you're under pressure and you have to get results, and I still believe that Neil will turn it around, and I think he's a very good coach. He's a winner. He's proven that over the last 20 odd years when he's been at Celtic. And every club has little periods where they go up and down, and it's just part of football. So, hopefully we can get a result on Saturday. On Sunday. That's the main thing from our perspective, and I'm sure Neil will continue to keep fighting like he's done for years and years.
So let's look at Celtic, where things have been far from plain sailing this campaign. A run of just 2 wins from 12 games saw the Hoops knocked out of the Europa League, the League Cup, and fall 13 points behind league leaders Rangers, which led to several fan protests outside the stadium, first against the manager, but now mainly against the board, who've given Lennon their full backing. However, with 2 wins on the bounce, it's given the side at least part of their mojo back, with David Turnbull and Ismaila Soro impressing in the middle of the park. The big question now is, does Lennon stick with the inexperienced but in-form side, or revert to type and reward the players that helped them reach the final, such as Scott Brown and Ryan Christie?
But as regards my team selection, like I said, there was no sentimentality involved in my thinking behind that with my background team, and we're not there yet with the starting 11, but we'll discuss that and probably name it tomorrow.
The Parkhead side are the competition's most successful entrant with a total of 39 titles, the first coming way back in 1892, and they've of course won the last 3. Their run to Hampden saw them knock out Partick Thistle, Clyde and St Johnstone before a 2-0 win over Aberdeen last month. Hearts will pose a very different threat from last year, and they've nothing to lose, as midfield stalwart Callum McGregor knows.
Obviously, a great start to the season. They look really strong as well. They've recruited really well, and like you said, so much experience with guys like Craig Gordon on the side as well, and you know, a teammate of mine for a number of years. So I've got huge respect for him. Really top goalkeeper, and I'm sure, you know, we want to beat them as much as he'll want to beat us, and that's the nature of it. So like I said, a lot of respect for him, but you know, obviously come Sunday we're on different sides.
Don't forget, we'll be here live on Sunday from 12:30 to bring you all of the build-up to the biggest game of the season so far. See if Hearts can become just the 4th team outside the top flight to win this old trophy, or whether Celtic will complete their much-anticipated quadruple treble.
Yeah, all to look forward to. I think the big question is, Mark, would you play Scott Brown?
Well, I mean, obviously you have to have the sort of intimate knowledge of what's going on there and how Scott is and his state of mind. But, you know, Scott Brown is a magnificent player. You know, he really is. He's a fantastic influence in the team, but he's a fantastic player as well. And, you know, I can't imagine the Celtic team get out in a cup final at this stage without Scott Brown. But, you know, Neil, you know, knows better than me because he's seen Scott every day and he's seen the others every day and he's seen them all season. So he's the best man to make that decision. But, you know, I think that Scott Brown will be champing at the bit to play.
Yeah, I mean, that is the big question, Tam. It's whether he sticks with, as Gabriel mentioned there, the players that have suddenly seemingly got them back on track in the last 2 games, or does he go for the stalwarts? I mean, it's not a big call to put Ryan Christie in. He's a top draw player like Scott Brown. I mean, but it's just because of what's gone before.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what team selection he goes with, Peter, because, you know, the guys that have come into the team, Ismail Asoro and Turnbull, have been excellent. They've won the last 2 games. So does he stick with those guys that's done well the last couple of games, or does he bring the tried and trusted in, like Scott Brown? So I don't know, Peter. As Mark said, you know, Neil Lennon's in there every day, Scott Brown's training every day. We'll need to wait and see, but I think a lot of the supporters, like Luca Soro, like Luca Turnbull, more energy in the middle of the park, but then you've got the leadership qualities of Scott Brown, who's been there, done it, won umpteen trophies at Celtic, you know, won't be fazed by the occasion. So it's a difficult call, but I think it's a good call for any manager. Mark will tell you the same. You know, you want competition for places. Celtic have not had that, I don't think, for the last couple of months. But all of a sudden, he brings a couple of fresh faces and they do well. And they're now putting pressure on the likes of Scott Brown and Ryan Christie. So it's a great problem for Neil to have. And whatever team he goes with, I would still expect Celtic to be too strong.
Yeah, Roughie, have a look at this predicted lineup. Listen, I've even come up with a different one from the one we're about to put on screen. But what do you make of it, Roughie? Barkas, Ayer, Duffy, Julian, Laxalt, Brown, McGregor, Frimpong, Christie, El Yunusi, and would you believe it, on my screen, just as I have a quick look to see who that other one is Edouard. So there's a potential 11. I mean, even I look at that and I think to myself, I think he might go 3-5-2 and throw Connor Hazard in there, Roughie.
Yeah, I think I would go 3-5-2. I think Anya, Julian and Duffy at the back. I've been impressed with Taylor. I think Taylor's been getting forward. I play Taylor one side, I play Frimpong on the other side. You know, both of them will cause damage going forward in that park at Hampden. I would leave Sorrow out and I'd put Brown in there, particularly with the way Turnbull's playing and McGregor. They've got all the energy in the world, and Scott Brown can just do what Scott Brown does. And I'd have Christie playing off Edward. I think that's a lot of energy in that side. But that could change, as you say. But I was impressed with Taylor last week. I thought he's beginning to look what we all thought he was going forward and causing damage. So it's still shout, but I certainly wouldn't have a problem Scott Brown standing in that tunnel with the captain's armband on, with that face of his on for a cup final, and to put the fear of death up everybody's go. And we all know what he can do, so it wouldn't be a big disaster for me if Scott Brown was playing.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder about this, Mark. I mean, I'm not making Scott Brown the main focus here on this about whether he should play or not, because, as you say, he's top drawer. But going into this game, the biggest problem has been over the 2 wins in the 12 that they had, was that inability of the manager to make his mind up. He was a 3-5-2, which he really wanted to play. And then he reverted back to a 4-4-2 or a 4-1-4-1 at times. I mean, he's tinkered with the back line. What would you do?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. First of all, the business of Scott, being left out, and the other boys coming in and doing well. I mean, there's another way of looking at it, and that is that Scott Brown's been rested and now he'll be fresh again, to bring that to the game. So, you've got to, if you take a positive outlook on it, then Scott Brown has been preparing for this game, if not any of the other games. As far as his system, I think that there's two things. One is they've got to look at what Hearts, how they're set up, and how therefore they're going to be able to sort of nullify Hearts in terms of how they're trying to do things, but also in terms of his actual strategy, not just the tactics, but the strategy. Is he going to try and win the game as early as possible? Are they going to go for the jugular and hope that it's all over by half time, that Celtic have got 2 or 3 goals by half time and the game's over? Or are they going to go there and, maybe show Hearts more respect in a sense, and be a bit more cautious? So I think that both the shape and the strategy that he set out will dictate a wee bit who he plays. I'd like to see Celtic come out the traps and really go after it and try and win the game as early as they could.
Yeah, Tam, I wouldn't play Barkas.
No, I wouldn't play him either. I don't think you can trust him at the minute, Peter. He's a bag of nerves. He's a big price tag hanging over him. Conor Hazard's come in, done really, really well for me, and I think that he should keep his place. I think he's been a calming influence back there. Hearts will probably play 3-5-2. They played 3-5-2 against Hibs in the semi-final with Kingsley left wing back and Smith, and I think that's a strength for Hearts. The 2 wing backs are good going forward, 2 good quality players, international players. So. Listen, I think Celtic will maybe match up and just go, listen, we'll just go man for man 3-5-2 against them and we'll be better. I think that's what Celtic will do. They'll just think we'll match up and we'll get better players and we'll just go and take the game.
Yeah, Jim Main has put a message up on Facebook just basically saying Celtic need to start well. If they lose a goal, they will struggle. There's so many people giving us their thoughts on this. Alison says Hazard for her. Kenny Whitson has his thoughts on the Hearts team, which we're about to look at. He says Hearts are starting better. A tortoise could run past them. Fairly harsh on Christophe Berra, to be perfectly honest with you, because certainly in the Championship, I think he's worthy of his place in that Hearts side. I think he was found wanting Roughie in the Hearts side that was in the Premier League. I think that's why Daniel Stendel decided, to empty him. He probably didn't do it in the best way, but. In a one-off game, is he the weak link? I mean, have a look, Roughie, at this starting lineup that, we're predicting potentially for Hearts that could change as well. Gordon, Smith, Halkett, Berra, Kingsley, Herring, Halliday. Lee is in there with Naismith and Walker. And obviously up front, Liam Boyce.
No, that is a strong side, and I'm not criticising Christophe Berra, but you're right. He was off the pace a wee bit. But he's got all the experience in the world to go into a cup final. A 1-1 with Edward. I think we all know who the winner would be in that one. But that's a strong side that you've just read out there. A lot of quality players in that one, and Celtic will have to be on their game, to beat them. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, Jim Ross, who's a big Hearts fan, says, I would start Josh Ginnelly and Andy Irving and go with pace from the start. I mean, they've got some good footballers, Mark. I've watched them a couple of times. I mean, they dismantled Dundee, hit 6 past them. They hit 6 past Queen of the South last week. They've got some good players, especially, I think, the linchpin to it all for me is Naismith.
What a terrific player and what a terrific individual Steven Naismith is, and for him to be going to a cup final at this stage of his career is fantastic. I think that Christophe's an interesting one, because Christophe has never, he's never in his whole career been the quickest. And okay, now he might have lost a bit more of his pace, but what he is he's a player that loves to defend. Now, when Christoph was playing in England and he was playing in the Championship, Christoph year in, year out, won the stats for clearing the most balls. Now, where Christoph's is most effective is when he's defending his own 18-yard box, not when he's on the halfway line. Now, I think what will happen is in the Championship, they'll find themselves pushed up to the halfway line and they'll dominate games. And Christoph, therefore, is a little bit vulnerable. But when they're defending their own 18-yard box, Christoph is outstanding. The blocks he makes, the headers he makes, the clearances he makes. So in a sense, if Celtic take the game to Hearts, then Hearts need Christoph.
Yeah, I'll tell you the key player for me, as well as Naismith, Tam. Mark mentioned Christoph Berra there, and I've highlighted Naismith, but Roughie's big choice is Craig Gordon, who were bemused that Celtic let him go in the first place.
Yeah, listen, I think he's top class, still very fit, and I think that it was a big mistake for Celtic to let him go. I think you look at that Hearts team and you've got a good spine of real quality and real experience through there. Gordon, Berra, Halliday, Naismith, Boyce. These guys are international players, so they've got great quality in their team. I know they're playing in the Championship, but they can certainly raise their game and go and compete with Celtic because they've done it in the past and they're still fit. So I think Craig Gordon will be a key player for Hearts. He's got to have a great game. He's got to be man of the match probably for Hearts to win this.
Yeah, you like him, Roughie. I think he's a top drawer keeper, and Mark knows him well.
No, the reason that Hearts are in the final is because of Craig Gordon. That's the bottom line. 2 saves he made in that semi-final, obviously with the penalty miss as well. He made the saves at the right time, and you could see when he made the save, it made all the players run about him believe that they could win it. If another save comes along, he'll make it. And that gave them everything to go to get into the final, and that's why they're there. That's why I'm thinking, that as everybody said there, he's got to be the man of the match. He's going to have to make saves, and I'm sure he will make the saves because he's that kind of goalkeeper. He'll make the big saves at the right time.
Yeah, and if ever, Mark, and you know this better than anybody, you mentioned Scott Brown's quality. Steven Naismith has all of Brown's qualities, I think, as far as being an inspirational captain. He's the type of guy that if he's not playing well, which is all too rare, he stimulates his own side. He argues with the referee, tries to niggle at him, and then he'll try and derail anybody that he can spot who he thinks won't be able to take the noise up. I mean, he's the type of guy you hate to play against, but you love in your team because you just want to fight for him.
Yeah, Nizzy's one of these boys. I don't really know that he ever knows whether he's playing well or not. He's too intense. He's in the game and he's absolutely focused on whatever's happening, and therefore I don't think he has a sense of whether he's playing well or not. But I think what he will do, like Craig and like Christoph Berra, is he'll front up the Celtic players. So it's not like a team from the Championship have won their way to the cup final, and the team's populated by players who have never been there and who therefore are going to be intimidated by Scott Brown. Nazy and the likes will want to square off with Scott Brown. So the Celtic, can't expect that. They're going to have to win by their ability because I don't think they're going to intimidate Hearts.
Yeah, I mean, it's so close to call, guys. Yesterday, when Roughie and I were chatting to Steven Naismith, we didn't want to be two-faced about it, Tam. We just had to leather him and say we think Celtic are going to win. But it's an intriguing one to call because I think, if anything, Celtic always give you a chance to score goals. I just think they might edge it 2-1, but it's a close call against a team that I think should never be in the Championship in the first place.
Nah, they shouldn't be. I think they'll come straight back up. I think they'll win that in a canter, that league. They've got so much quality and strength and depth, but I think Celtic will be too strong for them on Sunday. I think the fact that they're going for the quadruple, and they've been there and they've done it, I think they'll win the game. If Celtic get an early goal, I think that'll be an easy afternoon for Celtic. So I'm going to go for 3-0 to Celtic.
3-0, that emphatic. Mark, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think that, you talked about Craig Gordon being the man of the match. I think if Craig Gordon's the man of the match, Celtic will still have won the game. because it'll, reflects the fact that Hearts have been under that sort of pressure. I think if Boyce is the man of the match, then Hearts will have won the game. And I don't think that's impossible. I think it's closer than normally a Premiership, Championship game would read. I think it's a lot closer, and there's a lot of variables that we don't know. The team, who's going to play, how Celtic are going to turn up. Are they going to turn up as they've done in the last couple of games? Are they going to match his Hearts' aggression and Hearts' determination to get something out of this game? So, I don't think you can call it. I think this game could go either way.
Strangely enough, Scott McDicken on Facebook has posted a message saying if Lennon loses the cup final, Roughie, then he's out the door. Are Celtic just going to hold their nerve and say, listen, okay, it's gone, that's fine, that game. If you don't win the Scottish Cup, it's still all about how you move forward in the league, or is losing to a Championship side not acceptable?
I don't think it'll be acceptable, and it will, as we've seen before, it will just rear its ugly head again. There's no doubt about that. There are people just sitting waiting and that kind of thing happening, but it's up to the manager and the players to make sure it doesn't happen. That's the motivation that you want to keep winning. I keep repeating myself why Celtic will win. You've looked at the positive games against Dunfermline and against Dundee and Queen of the South. I'm looking at the games against Hibs, where again I've said Hibs should have won that game. I'm looking at the defeat against Alloa, the defeat against Dunfermline at Dunfermline. I just think Celtic are better than these teams that are beating Hearts. That's why I think on the day, as we know, big players turned up, big occasions, and I think Celtic have got more big players than Hearts.
Okay, Scottish Cup final. Let's give you a little taste of what we hope you'll be doing on Sunday, because we're going to be there.
Come and join the football family with PLZ Soccer, where on Sunday we'll be here live from 12:30, bringing you all of the build-up to Sunday's Scottish Cup final between Celtic and Hearts. It'll be myself, Peter Martin, Darren Jackson and Alan Rough. We'll hear from Neil Lennon, Robin Nielsen, players from both teams and much more before coming back at the full-time whistle to analyse the results, break down the game, hear from the managers again and read out your thoughts and questions. Don't forget, that's on PLZ Soccer's Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, live from 12:30.
Join us if you can, give us your prediction, give us your reaction to the teams, and of course after the match we'll look over the wreckage and see who was the hero and who was the villain in the cup final itself, who will be just looking at their Scottish Cup final medal and thinking, hey, I'm a winner, and who will obviously have that sad face thinking, now I know how Tam McManus feels. So anyway, it's one of those ones, and Eddie Thorne has just said, Tam McManus thinks Hearts will be beaten. Well, I never. So there you are, Tam. You're getting it in the neck no matter what. Here's what's happening over the weekend in the Scottish Premiership. If you are a fan of Rangers against Motherwell, will Rangers be able to bounce back? We're going to discuss that shortly. St Mirren against St Johnstone, Hibs Dundee United, Ross County against Hamilton, and Kilmarnock against Aberdeen on the Sunday. Rangers 27 games unbeaten. It had to end sometime, Mark. It ended, to everyone's surprise, in midweek against St Mirren. Were you gobsmacked by the result?
Yeah, I was surprised, because I think, Rangers' intent this year is to win trophies, and I think they've looked like a team that could win trophies. So, to be, knocked out, at this stage, no disrespect to St Mirren, Rangers, for all the world, look like a team that could win the cup. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they've got to try and bounce back. That's the key to it all. But the one element that I think not only the manager but the players, Scott Arfield, says, listen, it's one defeat. We're not going to collapse.
Well, it's not just one defeat. It's a cup that you're out of a cup. The league is one defeat. You can say that about the league. You lose a league game, you get the next one to go over. But you lose a cup game, you're out. There's no getting over it. You're out of the cup. They can't win the cup. And I think that many people would have thought that they would be strong favourites, and for them to go out, really, it's a bit of a shocker, really, as well as they're doing in the league. And I know the league will be the priority, and of course they're flying in Europe, fantastic performances in Europe, and I don't know what they would take over in terms of the cup. The European thing or the league. I think the cup might come last, but you still expect them to be in the next round.
Oh yeah, I know you're quite a bit away from the madding crowd. Believe me, Mark. If you offer Rangers fans a Europa League final, winning the Europa League final, winning the Scottish Cup, or just winning the league, the silverware is booted out into left field. It's all about the league. The reason why I was asking you is I was actually hoping to, hear from Scott Arfield. That's why I quoted him. Let's see if we've got that clip.
Sorry.
You've seen the reaction phase for the 3 games. I would probably say the Livingston Hibs and the Benfica game, probably away, where it got away phase. Games that we should have won. Games that we were in positions to go and take the game and finish it off. So I think you've seen that. And as I say, I think you will get the right reaction tomorrow. We all know how good this team is within the squad, and I think we'll get that.
Yeah, I mean, it's how they bounce back, Tam. That's the big question on this one, because if anything, it depends on how you react to social media. There's been a fair bit of banter and good fun with it. But I think when people look back at last year, nobody thought it was going to be the monumental collapse it was from January onwards. But this team looks as if it's got a different mentality, Tam.
Yeah, I think it does, Peter. As Mark says, listen, it's a cup game. It's a one-off. I think it proves that how great an achievement Celtic has been to go for 4 in a row, 4 trebles in a row. Because on any given day, you can lose a game, a cup tie. If you don't turn up on the night and the other team plays really well, then you can find yourself out the cup. So I don't think there'll be any problem with Rangers. I think it's a big game on Saturday, though, just to win that game, just to stop the rot. Not the rot, but if they drop points, then people start questioning, this is Rangers. Are the Rangers going to bottle it? I don't think they will. I think they'll beat Motherwell on Saturday, but it now becomes a wee bit more on the game, because if they get through in the cup, the unbeaten run keeps going, they keep rolling on, then you beat Motherwell. So I don't think they'll bottle it. I don't think they'll drop any points against Motherwell, but they've got some tough games coming up, Rangers. They've obviously got Motherwell, they've got St Johnstone away from home, and then they've got Hibs at home. So there's an opportunity that Celtic will be looking at to see if Rangers drop any points. I think Celtic's got an easier fixture list over the Christmas period, so we need to wait and see. But I don't see any problems with Rangers. I don't see them, losing any confidence over that. I think they'll go and win the game on Saturday easily.
Yeah, the manager himself, Steven Gerrard, says he fully understands why the fans are frustrated after that performance in midweek.
Totally understand the fans' frustrations and shock. They've just watched the team go on a 27-game unbeaten run and very rarely concede a goal and qualify for Europe, top of the group. So to be in a bit of shock and disappointed and frustrated, pretty normal. It is what it is. It's done now. We can't change it. All we can do is control the future, and it's our job to get ready for tomorrow's challenge in Motherwell.
Yeah, listen, Roughie, they'll brush that off. I mean, it's disappointing. There's been a few noise-ups at the end of it, but I think the main goal is this league and just driving on, Roughie, and making sure the way the cup fixtures have played out here, making sure they capitalise every time now Celtic are not playing, because the way it's looking, Celtic have games that they're going to have to play to try and majorly catch up.
Yeah, we all know the objective is the league, but he's kidding himself on if it's not a disappointment. There were 2 games away from him winning his first bit of trophy wear, and that's what he wanted. That's what everybody kept saying to him, thrown in his face. You haven't won a trophy. You've been knocked out of nine competitions. When is it going to happen? So deep down, the professional that he is will be really gutted by this. This was probably the best chance to win a trophy more than any of the other years. So that must be a disappointment. But this is a bounce back game for them, Motherwell at home, because Motherwell aren't playing well at all. And I wouldn't expect Rangers to lose that one anyway.
Yeah, it's a strange situation. I've watched your old team, Mark. Even with Declan Gallagher at the back, they've been giving in the last 3 or 4 games teams chances, and the opposition has capitalised. They've been giving away goals needlessly, stupid goals, and they haven't been able to, score enough goals at the other end in this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had such a slow start, and I was sort of saying to people, it's a kind of false position they were in. They were sort of short of a few games of other people, and then they started to get that few results and started to look as if they were climbing back into the sort of position they were last year and things. And then, again, they've had these, difficult results. So inconsistency, and maybe that's a good thing for Rangers, playing a team that, are vulnerable, but equally they're playing a team who are inconsistent, who, if they do get it right on the day, could be difficult to beat.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. They look as if they're going to try and tie down Alan Campbell on a new deal. I think that would be a great bit of business, Tam, because not only would it be great to get him on a new deal at Fir Park, it would be great to get him on a new deal because I think he's a sellable asset.
Yeah, I think he's a tremendous player. Really, really good footballer. Good age. Scotland under 21 cap. I think he's played over 100 games for Motherwell. So, by all accounts, he's a terrific professional as well. He's first in and last out. So to have that sort of work rate and that sort of attitude is a big attribute for any young player. So I think that Motherwell will be desperate to get him tied down because, listen, they'll get good money for him. I think he's out of contract. He's obviously, they'll get a development fee or whatever, but if they can get him tied down on a bit longer contract, then it protects the club. Because there's no doubt for me Alan Campbell can play at the very highest level. I think he can go and play anywhere he wants. He can play for Scotland. So if Motherwell can get him tied down, I think that'd be great for them because him, Declan Gallagher and Stephen O'Donnell, that's 3 really top players that Motherwell have got and they'll be looking to tie them all down. But I think all of them are out of contract.
Okay, I'm going to go for Rangers to win 2-0. Tam?
I'm going to go for 3-0 to Rangers.
Mark?
I think Rangers will win the game. I think Rangers will come roaring back. I don't know if they can beat them by 3, but I think Rangers will score a couple of times.
Yeah, Roughie?
Yeah, I think home advantage. I'm going to go 2-0 as well. I think they'll bounce back quite easily.
Okay, it's the Battle of the Saints, St Mirren against St Johnstone. I don't think St Mirren players will need any kind of transport to Paisley. They'll be floating at the moment on the midweek results.
Just as well.
Always high as a kite. Yeah, well,
on each other's cars.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Trust you to remember that. Anyway, infection-free, they'll be playing against St Johnstone. And again, the manager, Jim Goodwin. Now, I'm not just asking you, Mark, because I know you've been sent to the stand. I know sometimes managers and people get touchy about it, but I know you like a noise up. But Jim Goodwin gets sent to the stand in midweek for celebrating, getting the third goal.
Well, I mean, I've been sent to stand for many things. I don't think I've been sent for celebrating. But, managers lose control, and Jim just needs to take that in his stride. I mean, I'm still serving a 6 max ban. I've still got that. Seriously, I've got a 6 max ban hanging over me. I'm not even sure I'm supposed to be on here because I'm banned.
Do you still keep in touch with that Aberdeen supporter?
By phone.
Aye, that was a classic.
Oh, it was
That was brilliant.
Only because I know you. I mean, I was looking at it thinking, oh no. But nevertheless, you're right. Managers do lose control going up the stand. I mean, the best one ever was when Arsene Wenger gets sent up to the stand in Old Trafford and he had nowhere to sit and he just held his hands out looking out at the referee.
Well, that was the same as what happened to me at Aberdeen. I had nowhere to sit. That was the problem.
Yeah.
And in fact, I don't know if you know this, but I think since that incident in Aberdeen, the authorities have made it a rule that the opposition team have to keep a seat free for the manager, in case he's sent to the stand. So that is now written in the constitution, as it were.
No. I thought you were going to say you need to move further into the crowd.
you need to go in the home end.
So basically, and you've heard it here first, folks, I didn't know that rule had been implemented now. So basically, right across the whole of the Premiership in Scotland, there's just a wee seat, and it's called the Mark McGee seat, and you just go up there, and it's got to be kept for you. Absolutely brilliant.
It's not that wee a seat.
And to be fair, by the way, it's unlike you to actually be sitting in the stand when you were an Aberdeen player, because you were always playing. No wonder you get lost. Anyway, St Mirren against St Johnstone. They'll be on a high, but listen, let's not forget, Tam, St Johnstone are in the semi-finals of the League Cup. This is the makings of a great game, surely.
Yeah, both of them will be high in confidence. Great results during the week. Both of them in the semi-final. Both will fancy their chances, as will Hibs and Livingston. The cup's wide open, but they'll be trying to forget about that and try and get on with league business. St Johnstone, poor defeat last week, brought to an end a great unbeaten run for them. St Mirren are on a great run. It's a very difficult game to call, so I'm going to sit in the fence, Peter, and I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Ah, right. So you're going for I'm actually going to go. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for St Mirren, Roughie, on this one. I just fancy St Mirren. I think that I watched them against Muller. I thought they played lovely football, deserved their win. Rangers was a shock to me. Wasn't a shock to you because everybody's mentioning on here you're the only man to predict that St Mirren would beat Rangers in midweek. But how are you going with this one?
Well, it seems to be the only way we can claw McManus back in if we keep picking the same scores. I'm going to go 2-1 as well.
Here. Did you just keep picking the same scores, Peter? That's kind of allowed.
Well, to be fair, he's gone 1-1, Roughie. We've both gone 2-1. Mark, how do you see it?
Well, I'm a bit of a Callum Davis supporter and St Johnstone supporter, so I do think that given the euphoria and the sort of mental energy that St Mirren would have expanded in midweek, I think St Johnstone can win this one. So I would say 1-0 St Johnstone.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Mark, because sometimes, as you know, we become obsessed with Celtic and Rangers, but there are, Mark, in the Scottish Premiership a number of good managers. I mean, Jack Ross at Hibs we're about to talk about, but Jim Goodwin, I think, is a really good manager in difficult circumstances at St Mirren, and he's had to build his own side. And you mentioned Callum Davis, and I thought he was a really good left back, and I think he's building his own side at St Johnstone and putting his own print on that team.
He's a very bright boy, so he'll do it with a bit of science, he'll do it with a bit of thought, but he's also got enough about him that, he can wave his fist and he can come down on people. He's got a strength about him. He's a great coach. I've seen him working with the national team. He helped Gordon and I out, and he's got a bit of fun in his training. He can bring that into it as well, so he's got a variety. So, yeah, I think he's got the makings of a really good coach and manager. And as I say, I've got a little bit of a soft spot for them, so that's one of the reasons why I would choose them.
Yeah, okay. Roughie, we're going to ask you first this time about your scoreline for Hibs against Dundee United, because obviously Tam thinks there's a bit of jiggery-pokery going on. But listen, let's not forget here, Hibs could actually leapfrog Celtic into second place, Roughie, if they can win this game.
That has to be the momentum, for the manager and the players, and I'm sure he'll be bringing that to their attention. Again, with home advantage. Dundee United, for me, they're a one-goal team now, and I don't think that'll be enough to beat Hibs at Easter Road. So I'm going to go Hibs 2-1.
Tam, it's hard to believe this. I'm just looking at some of the stats here. Hibs have lost just 3 of their 17 league games played. And, you look at Jack Ross. Mark was talking about the qualities that Jim Goodwin and Callum Davis and Jack Ross were all known about him being a good coach. The only bad move he made in his life was to go to the poison chalice, which is Sunderland.
Yeah, well, I've known Jack for a long time. I played with Jack when we were at Falkirk. He was the captain of the team, and I always thought he was a player that would go on and be a manager. You get types like that who you play with. I also went in and trained with Dumbarton when I was coming back from America, and he was assistant manager Team Murray at Dumbarton, and it was some of the best training sessions that I had ever done. I was really impressed with Jack. They were a part-time team. Dumbarton were doing really well at the time in the Championship. The players loved the training. They loved the coaching staff, and it always stuck in my mind, just being in the training under Jack, that he was a guy and a coach that I thought would go on and do really well. He went to St Mirren, done an unbelievable job there, and as you said, probably made the wrong decision to go to a basket case in Sunderland. But again, it was a big move to turn down. But he's went to Hibs, and I think he's rebuilding his reputation. I think he's a very bright manager, conscientious, and tactically he's got a good brain. So I think he's been a great acquisition for Hibs. And I think Hibs will win the game. I think Hibs will win the game comfortably. I think they'll win 3-1. And there's an opportunity for Hibs in the next 2 games, Dundee United at home and St Mirren at home, to be above Celtic at Christmas. And that would be a great, great for Hibs. Hibs supporters, a great Christmas.
Yeah, 2-0 for me. Roughie, have you given your score? Did I miss it?
2-1. 2-1.
2-1. Mark?
2-1.
No, I think that Hibs, I think, will see that opportunity, as you say, to keep track with Rangers. I think they'll expect Rangers to win, so I think that they will come out flying. And I think, to be honest, I think that could be a wee bit of a goal fest. I think Hibs could get 3 or 4 goals.
Yeah, okay, interesting. I'm going to read out this message just to show you how the different reactions from different people who watch the programme. Chris Andrews says, Mark McGee is welcome in Aberdeen anytime, and I know plenty of people that will buy him a pint. Gothenburg forever. So there you are. There's not for a minute are we suggesting nobody in Aberdeen would buy you a pint, or there are people up there that don't like you. I'm just reading out people that do like you and are offering to buy you a pint. So it's absolutely sensational. I'm sure as you walk down the street in Union Street, Mark, you'd be absolutely sozzled by the time you got to the other end of it. But if you ever do that, make sure you take me, Roughie, and Tam with you, because we are the king hangers-on for a night out. If we could have a night. When's the last time? I mean, you posted a photograph today, Mark, of you looking out on a beautiful beach. When's the last time you had a night out? Wow, that long.
He's thinking about it. He's thinking about it.
No.
The
funny thing is, I actually didn't even realise he'd frozen, because sometimes he's a genius at making his face exactly the same way. Roughie. Is that fair? Brilliant. Anyway, I'm sure we'll get him back. In a second. Now, here is a point that I want to get your thoughts on, because you might not have given this some great thought at the moment, Roughie, but suddenly with Brexit looming, it could change our ability as clubs in Scotland to recruit foreign players. There's a change in the rules. Now, I know the English Premier League look as if they've agreed some kind of point system in place that gives a player, he has to have a certain standing before he's going to be signed through their agreement with Europe and Europe's clubs. Scotland doesn't have that at the moment. We could be facing a situation, Roughie, where getting foreign players in could be mightily difficult.
Yeah, I think there's a good side of that and a bad side of it. If it was the case, it would give some of our younger players maybe a better chance to get games on the board. That'd be the positive side. But for the bigger clubs, obviously the influx of foreign players are what takes them into the European competitions. Reportedly, it's better players, not always the case. But no, it'll be interesting to see the ins and outs, what the stipulations are going to be. I think the only thing that's in place now is if you're going to sign somebody, they have to have played so many international games with whatever country they're coming from. But yeah, the Brexit one, that if they can't get the fishing rights done, so what chance have we got?
Oh, Roughie, a wee bit politics there from Roughie in the programme for the first time. For the first time in 8 years, suddenly.
You like to expand on that, Alan?
Hold on to that. That's only because he does gigs up in Fraserburgh and he knows all the fishermen up there are raging about this whole thing. But nevertheless, as far as players are concerned, even the Hibs boss Jack Ross had a comment on it.
I think if the same point system was applied to Scotland, I think it would make it more difficult to bring players in, because I think by the nature of the fees that we can pay would be less full internationals, etc., or players with less proven pedigree. But the knock-on effect of that be that more domestic players are given opportunities, then I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, Tam, more Scottish players getting a chance to play.
Can only be a good thing, Peter. I think for a national team as well, that the more Scottish players that are playing at the top level in our country, the better for everyone. Bringing young Scottish players through has always been the best way for every club, So I don't think it's a bad thing. But as Jack says there, you want to try and bring a little bit of foreign flair sometimes in. If you can find a wee diamond abroad and bring them in and try and sell them on, then you want to do that as well. So it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out.
Yeah, Mark, down south, there's not a great worry about Brexit and English clubs being allowed to sign foreign players. I think they've negotiated their way into an agreement on how they will go about it. But Scotland hasn't managed to do that yet. We were just mentioning there, unless something is in place, unless Scotland gets a special dispensation, we could find it really difficult to bring those players in, foreign players, and it might be that they're forced into going for more homegrown players.
Yeah, and I don't think UEFA are famous for making special cases. I think that there's a lot goes on before you get to that point. So it could be that'll be the case. I watch. I get to watch some of the championship games as well, and there are some good players at that level that could be coming up. Hearts, look like a team that would come up, although they're also populated by older, experienced players that eventually are going to have to be replaced. So I don't know if we can do without the foreign players. Really, I don't know if there are enough top players to fill the Premier League teams without a few foreign players. So I think they need to try and fix something out.
Yeah, well, we've already given the scoreline on Hibs against Dundee United, but I just wanted to get your thoughts, Tam, on the situation that Dundee United are looking to some of their players to take a wage drop. The 20% cut that's been suggested is not on, according to the players. Some of the staff, Mickey Mellon and some of the backroom staff are agreeing to wage cuts. It's a hard pill to swallow, Tam, if you've signed players, and Dundee United weren't short of signing a few players. So this one, I think, is going to be a difficult sell.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's similar, obviously, to the Hearts situation at the start of the season. Dundee United they've spent a lot of money, and I've always said it in this show. I think Dundee United, with the wage bill they've got, should be in the top 6 in the Scottish Premiership. They gave Shankland a massive contract to keep him at the club. They've just signed McNulty. So he's not going to be cheap. I think he's on loan from Reading. So, listen, they're paying out a lot of money. If you're bringing in players and you're then asking the current players to take a wage cut, then the players are well within their rights to say how it's going on here. We've all agreed to contracts. You're bringing players in, you're signing players, and we've got to take a wage cut. So it's a bit of a mess up at Dundee at the minute. I think their wage bill their expenditure is not sustainable with no crowds in. And I think it's been a long time coming with them asking players to take wage cuts, because I don't know where they're going to fill this black hole. You look at their books. I think their books just came out prior to the season. They're hemorrhaging money, and somebody in there's got deep pockets going to have to fill that. So it's a bit of a worrying time for any Dundee United supporter, I would suggest.
Yeah, absolutely. Ross County take on Hamilton. Mark McGee won't be aware of this, but for the last 84 weeks, Roughie hasn't predicted Ross County to win anything, not even a training game. Roughie, what are you doing this week on it? Ross County?
I'm beginning to feel sorry for them now. I'm really beginning to feel sorry for them. I thought there was an injustice there at the cup game. So I'm going to go for them to win 2-1 at home.
That is 2-1. Incredible, Tam. That is incredible. I'm going to go for Ross County to win by a single goal, Tam.
That's what I was going to say, Peter. So I'm going to go for Ross County 1-0 as well. I think they'll get a win. I'll go 1-0 to County.
It's a strange situation, Mark, but I think they're my tip to go down, because I've watched St Mirren. I think they could get away. Hamilton are your classic campaigners who know exactly what it takes come April and May to escape relegation.
Perennial escapers. I think it's a close game. I think both teams, having to travel, weather, all of the things that work against you going away up there. It's a hard place to go. But I don't know if Ross County have enough to beat them. So I'm going to sit in Roughie's fence and that he usually sits on and say a draw. Probably 1-1.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have to say, Mark, to be perfectly honest with you, having seen Roughie's fence, not a good place to sit in that area out that just looks out over the whole of the Cumbernauld Kingdom. By the way,
and just to let you know, it's electrified.
Yeah, I'm sure Mark has managed to escape places. Yeah. Exactly it. What about your old team at Aberdeen? They've got a chance to draw level with Celtic, Mark, if they can win this one against Kilmarnock. Dave Cormack, this is probably the first day, Mark, that Dave Cormack hasn't released a statement. He is confident that Aberdeen, with a good signing or two in January, can push Celtic all the way and maybe nick that second Champions League spot.
I heard some of his, his rhetoric about COVID and about the fans not being allowed in, and a lot of what he said was so sensible and so correct. But I think when it comes to the actual football, I think he's not quite as astute. So I don't know about Champions League football, but I expect Aberdeen. They never seem to be too bothered about the surface down there. So I think Aberdeen can go there and win.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of any of the artificial surfaces, but nevertheless, it's a tough place to go. I like what Alec Dyer's doing there, Tam, but I still think Aberdeen can sneak this one. I'm going to go... no, in fact, you want me to tell you something? I've changed my mind at the last minute. My apologies, Tam. I'm going to go 1-1.
Right. I think Aberdeen, I agree with Mark, I think Aberdeen will go down there and win. I think they're very adept, Aberdeen, at winning horrible games of football, and that will be a horrible game down there. The weather, the pitch, everything. Aberdeen are not too concerned about that. They grind these results out year in, year out against the other teams, and I think they'll do the same again at the weekend, and I think they'll win 2-1.
Roughie.
Well, I was going to go 2-1, but now that he's went 2-1...
Why are you not getting happy to go first?
No, I wasn't going to go 2-1. No, I think Aberdeen will narrowly win down there. I think Aberdeen will win 1-0.
Yeah, Tommy Hoban is confident that Aberdeen can indeed draw level with Celtic.
Just mentally seeing ourselves up there, sort of level with them in the table, will give us, a massive boost to show that, we are. I always think the table never lies, and seeing us up there, sort of level points them, show us that we are as good as them. And obviously we've got to play them a couple of times still before the end of the season, and 3 times probably before the end of the season. And I think them games are going to be massive.
Okay, that's Tommy Hoban. That's Killie against Aberdeen on the Sunday. A couple of things to mention to you before we go. And one of them is something, Roughie, we were talking about it yesterday. Obviously today, I think a number of clubs will know exactly what kind of grant they're going to get from the government, loans that the Premiership clubs can take advantage of in these very difficult times. But as I look now, one of the little bits of news coming out, and this will interest Tam as well, roughly payments to clubs when players break through from the academies has been slashed by the SFA. And this is off the back of, obviously, 18 staff being made redundant at Hampden in the corridors of power. So suddenly, you're actually thinking to yourself, well, if academy players come through, we can rely on that money. But suddenly that's been slashed. That's a real kick in the teeth.
It certainly is. It's a kick in the teeth to clubs like us, who we've got a fantastic academy. We've had 10 players in the last 2 or 3 years have stepped up into the first team. And you're right, you do get money, and it's a large amount of money. But I think we just have to appreciate that the SFA are cost cutting and they're struggling like everybody else. So maybe it's something that can get looked again after everything sort of settles down. But you're right, for clubs like us, not a lot of clubs like to promote players from within their academy. It's a joy to see them being on the park. But financially, that is a bit of a blow.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to now get your thoughts, Mark, on something I never thought I'd be saying because we were so used to Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo swapping their awards one year to the next. But Robert Lewandowski, 60 goals in 52 games, finally wins a big award at the Best FIFA Men's Player Awards. Well worthy of it.
Yes, I mean I watch, and I'm working in German football, every week now, and so I'm seeing a lot. And on Saturday I'm doing the Leverkusen Bayern Munich game, so I've seen them close up this year. Now the one thing I would say though is that teams in Germany hardly lay a hand on Bayern Munich. It really is unbelievable. They're royalty. And teams play against them, and it's almost like they apologise to them if they kick them or if they make physical contact. So, Robert Lewandowski is a fantastic, another couple of goals the other night, a header and a shot, fantastic goals. But trust me, he gets a little bit of license. He doesn't get quite the contact that some of the guys in England would get, for instance, who are trying to win it. Your Harry Kane's now. You think about him. Harry Kane gets lumps booted out of him every week. Aguero when he plays, and the others that are going for the Golden Boot. Lewandowski doesn't get touched. He really doesn't. In fact, I showed them a picture I've got of Gordon Greer when we played Poland, and Lewandowski's about 6 feet off the ground, where Gordon Greer's absolutely cattled him. And I've said to the people in there, the German TV, that's what you need to do to Lewandowski, but nobody does.
Yeah, and by the way, for the benefit of anyone who's wondering there why Mark's doing German football, he played for Hamburg, and for the benefit of anyone who doesn't know how to actually handle Lewandowski, Mark also played with Doug Roughie, an Aberdeen legend, and Doug's first 3 tackles were for free, and the 4th one might have got him a yellow card. It wasn't a certainty. And the great line about Mark playing with Doug Roughie, I always remember this, Roughie. Davy Provan used to say, come out of Batodry, and he'd run up the gravel bit at the side and he'd check on the gravel next to the sand just to see where he was going to land from Roughie's first challenge. Big Doug was a mean character, Roughie.
Yeah, we had a player like that at Hibs as well, Eric Shadler. When Eric used to do a sliding tackle, even our players shut their eyes, to see if the other boy was okay. It was frightening. But these are
brilliant
winners, and you need them on your side.
Let's not get away from it, Mark. Doug was a good player as well.
Dougie was an athlete. What an athlete he was, in modern terms, he was ripped. He was like 7% body fat, and he was 6'4" or whatever he was. And he could run. He had less ability than he thought he had. And every now and again, he loved to do that one where he'd bring it down inside the 6-yard box. And Alec Ferguson would be apoplectic, he would be going absolutely bananas, And I remember once he took him off after half an hour, because he was overplaying, Big Dougie. Seriously.
I know, Tam, 7% body fat. Wow, I remember that. I think I was a fetus the last time that happened, Tam. I mean, that's magnificent, isn't it?
That is. I was 7% once upon a time when I was a young boy at Hibs, but I'm 77% now, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, always good. Always love a tale from Mark and Roughie on this. Listen, if you can join us Sunday, 12:30, Darren Jackson will join Roughie and myself and Gabriel Antoniazzi for the Scottish Cup final. We'll preview it, and then after it, I'll bring you all the reaction from the managers, Neil Lennon and Robbie Nielsen. It's either going to be green and white ribbons on the cup for a 12th consecutive trophy, or it will be hearts with what many in Downegorgie will think is a fitting tribute to Marius Zaliukas, who sadly lost his life, gone far too young. I hope we get a cracking game. Fingers crossed. Join us 12:30 if you can. But as ever, thanks to Tam, thanks to Mark McGee, thanks to Roughie, and thanks to you for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.